bass clef without player.
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave those.
You can put it like on a chair. Do you have,
I really don't want to use the piano.
I can just put it on a chair.
That's all good.
Or you would,
Is my flute case help you at all?
I think I can just do that one.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have
yeah,
something.
Alright. Ready? No? No. People are running late.
You need the seat, right?
Yeah.
I'll
That's
give
the same.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's proper foods, huh?
Alright, why don't we start? Whoever joins us, join us. So, what I'm going to address is kind of very specific and very niche collection. I was very, can you hear me well? Or should I use microphone?
Yeah,
Okay. I can project.
use the microphone because we are also streaming.
Oh, you're streaming,
Yeah.
okay. Hi there. Whoever is there, I hope you got your instrument set up. So the material we're going to look at and touch and listen and try to play is very unique, and most of the times I would dare to say not to be found anywhere else, for now. 20 years ago, I was lucky to work in the Pushkin House, which is named for the Russian Academy of Sciences Institute for Arts and Letters in St. Petersburg. It's part of my research, and I work with the archive of the eminent Soviet ethnomusicologist, folklorist Sofia Magid, who in the late 1920s and between 1928 and 38, as part of her research, much wider, broader research, recorded Jewish communities in Ukraine, Volyn, Ukraine, and mostly southeastern Belarus. So she happened to be the only one who left us audio recordings of Jewish musicians and folk singers and Hasidic singers in that area. Nobody else recorded there, and so just to understand how really rare and exclusive that material is, in the only few other researchers who left us audio materials were the group of composers and researchers one generation back, the Society for Jewish Folk Music in St. Petersburg, who, with the financial help of Baron Ginsburg, went to Ukraine and to Vitebsk, Belarus, and recorded there. So Joel Engel and Zusman or Zinovy Kiselgov and a few others. And then Sofia Magid happened to be the next generation. So she met, and in fact, she was in a way co-mentored by Zinovy Zusman Kiselgov, who just a decade later was tortured to death by NKVD's secret police in 1939. And so in her generation, it was only her and Moisei Beregovsky in Kiev Moisei Bergovsky recorded predominantly in Ukraine. So when we look at those audio documents that survived, there are so few of them in existence, and they're so important for us to actually listen and to get access to this, because this is music of primarily oral tradition, and in any music, regardless, if only those signs, little dots on paper mattered, we would not need music schools. Like, learn how to read and you're good. Why you do all this, like 20 years of torture in conservatory and everything, do advanced degrees, or go to teachers? You learn anything fine. You can read Haydn, Mozart, Stockhausen, Boulez, whatever you want. No, apparently all music is music of oral tradition. That's why we have teachers. It's so, with this music, unlike court music, classical music is court music by definition. It was sponsored by royal courts and then going forward by states or by some wealthy sponsors. This is not music of wealthy sponsors. This is music of poor musicians playing for poor folk in the shtetls and the townships and villages, and that's why it was so poorly documented. And even more so was the dance. Dance has its own notation. So if we look back at Baroque dance with a historically informed performance era that emerged after World War II, Baroque dance was deciphered because there was documentation. Guess what? There was none of that documentation for the folk dance. It just didn't exist. So I spent some weeks there in St. Petersburg, and I was able to notate some of that music. I just in this last December, it took me forever, I put out the first volume of instrumental collection. So Sofia Magid recorded 96 instrumental pieces among over 500 pieces altogether. The other pieces include Yiddish folk songs, pieces of liturgical chant, Hasidic nigunim, Purim spills, and klezmer pieces. So virtually all genres of Jewish music, Ashkenazic Jewish music that was available in that one decade. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Most of the recordings were made by violinists, and in fact there's one violin band, family violin band, which is the only such recording in existence from that era, or in general from the Jewish players, pre-war Jewish players. It was an amateur band. They also convey their distinctive style, which we'll familiarize ourselves with. We have very little time, that's why I wrap up my talking, but so you understand what we're dealing with, how precious of material. And I'll give you some stylistic hints. Well, first of all, I said violin. Violin has 4 to 6 strings in various setups, but typically 4 that are tuned differently. But the point being that the strings can be used as drones and open strings, and that's the point I'm making. That folk violinists, Jewish folk violinists, Belarusian folk violinists, Ukrainian folk violinists made sure of laying all the available strings ring, just like the cymbalom players, cymbal, dulcimer players. There are no damper pedals on Belarusian cymbalom. The point was to let it sound dirty, get it kind of dirty, but it's a ringing, pinging sound to fill the room. That was the point. So you see all these double stops here. Even if you're playing a flute, try to channel that violin. And if you're playing, there's several flutes, you can choose to play the second line for a set, and then switch to the melody, and then go back. With violin, that's your notation, so you can basically play that. But also, don't hesitate to use other strings. You see, there's a G, open G there, right? And I'm looking at bar 5. Don't hesitate to do this. Or whatever strings you have available to you, or on the other. You employ all the strings. Some of the plucked instruments, the point is to fill in the space with that. All right? So the first is is Freilas? Freilas is a lively 2/4 time dance. Nothing was too fast. So let's listen. And by the way, also before I forget, that's kind of important. Please do come to tonight's performance, Songs and Testimonies. After which, in Motzei Shabbos, I will have the books available for sale, and at the end of the book, there's a QR code, which, if you scan, you get access to all the source recordings, for absolutely no additional pay. So it's public domain. I put them on Google Drive, so you listen to those violinists, primarily violinists, probably the old violinists. So that having been said, let's do this. Let's do that much. I want to hear your sound, right? So we start with these 4 bars, which are basically so-called call to arms in Jewish dance. Right? 1, 2, right? No, that's 2. That's 2. 1. Great. Now. You know this section, okay? And employ these other strings, violins. Yeah. You want to try the violin? Why not? Look, nobody's judging you, I promise. You're here to do your best, and this has to be helpful. I'm here to help you, not to judge you. Please.
All you could do is play a G string for the first.
That's good enough, that's much better. Immeasurably better than not playing anything. I promise. Don't be shy. Enjoy. You have to enjoy this experience, okay? No pressure though, but use this time. I'm here for you, to help you and for you to enjoy. Okay, let's go. Call to arms. So, ready? 1. Bam, ba-da-bam, bam, bam. Just like any other instrument, it's just in your body. Alright? If you're not comfortable playing, I'm just saying, an option, putting out an option there. Let's do it again. Ready? 1. There we go. And. Ourselves in major. From minor key, we fall into G major, which is even a better key for the violin. Doesn't matter for flute so much. Let's try it now. Letter B. Ready? 1, play. Covered A, let's go for letter B and C together with all the internal repeats. Ready? Ba-da-da. Ready? 1, play. So when we decide that we're on our last time, we're finishing, then we continue into coda. Okay? But wait, let's actually do the coda. So we have an end. It's the only different part is the very, very end of it. Otherwise, it's section 8. Yeah, let's play the coda. Measure 23. Bum, bum, ready? 1, play. That's a big problem. Can you hit those double stop? That's it, yeah. That's exactly. Actually, you know what? I think I have Wi-Fi here, so it's really, really beneficial. So if you look at the passport of the tune is information on the top, right? It's attribution of the original player, who was, by the way, Chaim Cheretenko, the wonderful, very creative violinist. Now we learned where he was in Shepetovka or Shepetivka in Ukraine. And so, you know, have you ever heard the name of Dave Taras? The greatest, the king of klezmer clarinet, who came to America around 1919, made a lot of commercial recordings. Starting, he came from Ternovka, which was 50 kilometers from Shepetovka. So it's the same region. Very interesting. He changed his style very much. He was very creative. He played with big bands. He did klezmer. He did jazz. He composed very elaborate klezmer pieces.
What was the name?
Dave Taras.
Dave Terrace.
Yes, he was David Tarasuk, but he changed his name. They took away his clarinet. It was too dirty. They destroyed in the customs. But he earned his clarinet. He earned money. He bought a clarinet.
Played with jazz.
Jazz and klezmer and Jewish and Greek and all other thinkable, unthinkable repertoires. Very prolific player, creative composer, everything.
How do you spell his last name?
Tarras.
Okay.
Taras. Dave Taras.
Terrace.
An iconic and absolutely must-know name. Please check him out. He came from that region. Okay, so.
Was he a contemporary of Moshe Oisher?
Yes, indeed. And he worked with Moshe Oisher, moreover. And he worked with Barry Sisters. He worked with everyone. He, as a soloist. You can hear him on many, many records.
But he didn't turn his back to the audience so that they couldn't see his fingering, right? Like, that's what I heard.
Oh, that I don't know.
That's what I heard about Moshe
That
Oisher.
shtick, I have no idea.
That it was secret.
Okay, wait a second. What I'm looking on my phone is the source recording. I want you to hear it for one, okay?
It's technique.
Okay. Okay, here we go. I think this, and then you see the cylinder, 181103. This is the archival chord. You have to listen, you have to attune your ear. You hear that vibrato? Now, what's interesting, first of all, yeah, you can imagine you have to listen to this dozens of times to really create a psychological filter, to really hear the musical signal behind that noise, right? It's a wax cylinder, it's acoustic cylinder, phonographic cylinder, it's phonograph, digitized. So, also he plays not in G minor, he plays in E minor, the entire thing. I think his violin was tuned a minor third down, from the typical. It's not a viola. It's clearly not a viola. It sounds like a violin, but that's interesting. That's very interesting. So, so you can hear the tempo, you can hear the articulation, a lot of information. It's not enough because that I encourage you to find that on Google Drive and listen. That's listening is the key. It's the beginning of the beginnings.
And it's
But-
kind of tango, right?
Not at all.
No?
No, it's a Freilos. What tango? No.
Why is it 2/4 the compass? I mean the rhythm.
I'm sorry.
The rhythm, it's 2/4, 2.
2/4. Yeah, 2/4. So
Yeah. So I heard like a kind of.
no, there was no way, no place for tangos.
Okay.
They did not exist there and then.
Okay.
Not in the shtetl. I mean, in the urban cities, yeah. In the urban centers, yes. Marches, tangos, other thing, polkas were popular, but not in. It's a small township.
Mhm.
So Shepetovka, it's we're really talking about very kind of a window into the old world. Yeah, I mean, if you went to Kiev, if you went to Minsk and Moscow, you could hear that in the squares. Some bands playing tangos and marches and waltzes.
March.
But yeah, this is Freilos. No, this is Freilos. And it has also, thank you for mentioning though, a stylistic feature. You see there's some accents. Look at the second ending. One bar before B. See that? You see that? So what does that do? The accents on the offbeat. We see a lot of that in the polkas, in the Freiloses. They help us propel ourselves. They help create this movement, not be stagnated and not be like tied with our feet tied to with a 20-pound weight, heavy weights, but help us move and help dancers. First of all, it is music for dancing. So
Well, the 2 and 4 rhythmically from the shtetl was what created American popular jazz musical.
right, maybe by coincidence. There are some coincidences in music, but that definitely jived well. It kind of worked well together.
Those people came from the shtetl, Gershwin.
Yes, but not Black Americans. So
No,
wait.
but they worked together.
They work together, but it could be a coincidence that there was a similar cultural preference. People who clap on 2 and 4 and not on 1.
Right.
So it could be. And then it kind of fostered further collaboration. So what we have here. So when you speed it up,
It gets you going.
So this is certain choreography. Now, for the string players, especially the bowed string players, there's a specific articulation. The term does not exist in English, but it exists in Slavic languages and in Hungarian, which I don't remember that word. The meaning of that word means undercutting. That means you press the bow in the middle. So what it does, I can imitate it on the clarinet. And that's the sekund, the second part, or the brach in Hungarian, it's viola. They had the Hungarian, the Roma musicians had this brach, the 3-string viola with a flat bridge. So basically they play chords all the time. But that's what they did. They created that motion. And that's exactly the accents on the offbeat, on the weak beat, which propelled us to the next bar. And that's that type of music. All right, with that in mind, let's try play it. Very dirty. For those who missed it out, I'm talking about not dirty words, but open strings and filling the space. There are no wrong notes, no wrong chords. The point is filling the space with a ringing sound. All right, let's go. Not that tempo, under tempo. 1, bum. Yeah. 1 is your cue, and 2 you play, right? cannot fill it in with those dum 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 dum. Or the boom bum bum ba boom. The percussion they used in the the village bands, including Jewish but also Ukrainian, it was a poik or baraban. We're talking about this marching drum with a cymbal attached to the top, and there's certain technique, there's certain patterns of playing. Again, help me. Don't be in my way. Don't be my feet, but help me. In which way? Accent the offbeats. Think of the bass drum, or not bass or tenor, whatever drum hat, like this big, like 20-inch, right? And the cymbal. So, right? You get it? So you do the exact same thing that I'm asking the violinist to do. No, it's way too busy and wrong pattern. Okay, but I have some jazz rock and roll. I don't know. So, I'm not a drummer, but may I just show you the general idea? Okay. So you have to have fixed it. No, I have to. I'm sorry, like I cannot do it standing because that will hold. You see, that was not designed for this music.
No.
So you have to
Kind of
you
adapt.
have to hold it wrong to play right.
Right.
In this style.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Because that's completely different style. So think of that as a bass drum and do that. And you help.
Do that again.
Yeah.
Like that?
Right? Yeah. No, yum, bum, bum. No, yes, bum, bum, bum. Yum, bum, bum.
I'm not getting it. Can you do it again?
You're not getting it? It's completely different dynamics and articulation.
Can you do it again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yum, bum, bum. You're aiming at those two last notes to finish the phrase, right? So you're firming up the phrase. You're helping the band. So in which way? Yum, bum, bum. So so think of whatever your right hand, your left hand. Think of your right hand as your actual poik, as your head, drum head, and of the left hand as your cymbal, top, right? Imagine, doesn't have to be. You have what you have. That's okay. That's fine. But act as if that was a cymbal, right? Can you try? Please, I do ask you to try. Yeah, that was closer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was much better. So, yeah.
In fact, the symbols are sort of built in.
Yeah, no, that's completely different instrument from a different tradition.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you have to channel different
Yeah.
instruments. You know,
This is like this.
well, general idea. Yes, yeah. I would say along those lines. There are many more patterns there, but it's simple. It's not subdivided into something very complex. It's not progressive jazz or progressive rock. It's a completely different world of music. So and again, you have whatever instrument you have, it's okay, it's good. But you have to channel that drum. You have to channel that music. And the general idea, like I said, it's the movement. It's exactly what I said to the violinists. So you have to create that anticipation of the downbeat with a stronger upbeat. Yum ba ba. So you see, I'm doing what I asked you to do with this rest, eighth, quarter. let's do.
Why are you
let's do,
picking on me?
Huh?
Why are you picking on me?
I can't hear you.
Why are you picking on me?
I'm not picking on you. I'm asking you to play since you're here.
Yeah, I'll wait till we're all playing.
Yeah, no, we are playing already. I'm just analyzing the letter B. Yeah. So what I call call to arms.
You just,
It's
see
hard.
the-
It's hard to
I can see
explain.
the dancing to this.
Huh?
I can see the dancers
Yeah.
dancing. I mean, this has got that dancing.
So I'm trying also to include some body motion into that
Yeah.
as much as I can. But so this is what I would call to arms. Right? Right? This is very accented. This is very accented. And then you go into the more typical pattern. So let's try that. Ready? One, play. Good, good. Very out and loud and present. And then we go into more kind of less active. We made a statement. That's a statement. Next section of the dance, everybody. And now we're in the actual next section of the dance, right? Let's do it slower. 1, 2, 1, play. Let's do letter B. And the call to arms. I'll cue you. I'm just showing where we are. All right, ready? 1, play. I can hear the band. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's do the whole thing, and then we'll move on. And yeah. All right. Ready? Come to the top. And we'll. Okay. Let's agree. We'll do ABC, and then coda. That's the format. Right? 1. Repeat. We are doing all internal repeats. Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah. Sorry, my read somehow decided to not play.
A little up 1 and 3, just to add something.
And if you have any questions, please let me know.
We still need a download.
Any questions? Any concerns? Something you think you can do, you cannot do? Let me know. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to judge you to anything. Again, I'm here to help you learn this material. Okay. Okay, let's do it from the beginning. I'll count on 1, 2, 1, and then 2 is your playing because it's a pickup, right? Ready? 1, 2, play. But do listen, please. Wonderful. Let's move on. I really like it. I really like what I'm hearing. Now, the next one is a very different genre. Speaking of, I mentioned tango's march. It's like this is a march. It's a chuppah march. It's a wedding march. Now, probably you will play through. You will listen to your playing. You'll hear what it is. Probably it stems from a military band, which probably did because a lot of musicians. It was played by also Chaim Cheretenko, same player. It was a compulsory military service, right? Not just some compulsory military service, but 25 years in the army. And a lot of musicians brought their clarinets and violins, etc., from the army. And they learned the repertoire as well, and they adapted that repertoire for the needs of the community in which they lived. So they played, there was a wedding march, they would play some military march, remember, for the purposes of wedding procession. Here we got it. So, if you listen to some of the pieces of Naftali Brandwein, you'll recognize that. Bulgar, Naftali. But let's first, let me sip of water. You'll see what I mean. If you have that sound library in your memory, so Naftali Brandwein's Bulgar, Naftali. Sounds very much like a Russian military march, or any European military march of that era, of the early 20th century. Okay, so what's the right tempo, first of all, before we even go into that? Who can answer?
How fast do they march is the question.
Right, it's a march, but the problem is there's a military march and there's a wedding march, and those two are played at very different paces. So I put an indication of 120. Yum bum bum bada bum bum bada bada bum. It's not like yum bum bum bada bum bum. Imagine to the bride and the groom walking to the kuppah. Yum bum bum. So you play the same tempo, but people actually walk at half tempo.
So this is 4/4, right?
Well, I wrote it down in 2/4.
2/4.
Yeah. So, yeah, let us play together. I'll play it for you. there's a forward repeat that's missing there, so letter E is repeated. So forward repeat, F letter E.
So what would be the drum part? Would it be?
Actually, I would use the march pattern. Bum bum ba bum, bum bum bum. Yum bum 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 bum. Yeah, along those lines. Just think of a military march, and then the wedding processional would go in their own pace, basically half pace of that. Okay, so
They didn't
it's
have
kind of long.
It's not a snare drum that they had. It was still.
Right, it would be a snare drum.
Oh, it would be a snare drum.
Yeah, it would be a snare drum or a koi could do the boom, bum, dum, dum. Yeah, exactly. Well, that sounds good. Let's try that. It's probably we'll do once through that. It's a long piece, but I think it's worth familiarizing ourselves with that. All right, it's a fun one, I think. Ready? 1, 2, 1, play. Repeat. Yeah. See, there's one measure that's missing there. Beautiful. You're ready to marry some couples around. Actually, yeah, it's a long piece, but it was easier than the other because stylistically, I guess you're more familiar with it. The military march is a military march.
Yeah, but how much more fun this wedding is?
Huh?
How much more fun this wedding march is
I
than
think so.
Mendelssohn?
Yeah,
You know.
and it's different. It's something else.
It's more fun.
Right. So and now I call out again this Bulgar Alanaftule, which you again probably heard even not knowing them. That was the piece. So the third part of era, same purpose, military march, etc. All right, let's familiarize ourselves with something else in this collection. We still have time. Retale. Now, this is a dialect form. And now we move to this. Probably you remember I mentioned the fiddle band. So that's the fiddle band. We'll read the passport. Wolf Salotkin, Neisha Salotkin, and Sarah Raskina. And there was another Salotkin in a different combination of 4 people playing 3 violins at a time. And this is, by the way, the piece that I played on the set of the Defiance movie in 2007 during the forest wedding. Stylistic regions, in the so-called north and south. And by north we mean Litvak regions, so Lithuania, Belarus, Latvia, eastern Poland, western Russia, that part. And south is most of Ukraine, but not all of Ukraine. Bessarabia, meaning Moldova, Romania, Hungary. So that's a very different stylistically, linguistically, food-wise, cuisine-wise. Sweet gefilte fish versus peppery, savory gefilte fish. The infamous, famous gefilte fish map by Marvin Herzog.
Second Avenue. That's the same debate.
Well, because everybody clashed in Second Avenue. So this is music of the north, and in the north, what they used to call frelas. In the south, they used to call redel in the north. But essentially, it's the same true for dance. So, everything I said about the frelas is applicable here. All those propelling offbeats. You know, that kind of stuff. And all the ringing open strings, all the drones, sympathetic strings, whatever you have there. Okay. Alright, let's do it together. 1, 2, 1. We're here to work with this material. Okay? So try different things. I want to hear you. I will probably not. It's very simple. Actually, I now see one mistake there. At the end of the first measure, which is, first is a pickup, right? And then the first and then the second, this F, top F, should be tied. This one. That's one correction. Sorry about that. Not too fast. We're 1, 2, 1. ba-da-bum-bum-bum, ba-da-ba-bum-bum. Right, it's the same figure, so you literally repeat it. And the da-dum-ba-dum-bum-bum. So the third time it changes a little bit. The first time it's almost the same. Da-dum-bum-bum-bum, ba-da-ba-bum-bum. 1, 2, play. With a pickup measure.
Oh, okay.
When we want to circle, we don't want to repeat the whole thing.
Okay.
Question,
Yes.
so is it traditional then, when you're looking at the page here, it looks like it ends with the repeat of B. But what you're saying is that it almost always goes back and
Of course, yes.
repeats the entire thing.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. You play it several times until you get tired of it, and then you play another piece.
Well, that's why it seems to go on and on and on.
I didn't understand what that meant, but.
No, it's all right.
And by the way, speaking of la la la, thank you. Let's sing. Let's sing this because I think we'll learn it better. It's also would work as a, a lot of Jewish music genres are interchangeable. So what I'm saying is this klezmer piece, instrumental piece, can easily serve as a nigun, as a Hasidic nigun. Can easily serve as a liturgical piece for any text can be adapted to it. Can easily serve as a folk song if you whatever. All right, counterfactum. Do some counterfactum. Exactly. Adonalam if it's a 8 syllable bar or any folk text in Yiddish or whatever. So let's sing it as a nigun. Ready? If we want to go repeat it. Good. You got it. So now let's play. I think it's going to be easier now. Alright? Longer spiel. And by the way, a lot of times in the traditional kapellia is the Yiddish name for the band, orchestra. Someone, a leader, would start a melody and everybody else would come in and measure 2 or 3, whatever, whenever they. So it's nobody counts off. That's it. And then the drum comes in, and etc. Whenever you hear the tune, you come in then. I won't do.
Should we be singing ya 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 or or dooby dooby doo or what?
Well, if
Does it
you.
matter?
Well, it has to be practically applicable. Is not practical.
Right, no.
So ya bam bam bye bye,
Okay.
bam 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 bam, ya die 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 die,
Good.
bim 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 bye bye. Whatever is practical.
Sounds more Yiddish.
Well, that's nigun. There's the word nigun. Which is not
What's it called?
nigun. Well, in Ashkenazic traditions, nigun.
Same thing as scat singing.
Yeah, but it's much older.
I know.
And different tradition, which is also, you can call it, coloratura, but it's not that, But it's not that, right? It has to be stylistically appropriate. So it's called nigun. Singing to the syllables. Plural is nigunim. Nigunim. It's the same as a nigun, yeah. So, anyway. 1, 2, 1. We just finished here. Now, if you noticed what I did, I don't care how much of material we cover. We don't. I'm very Jewishly anxious and over-prepared. So I bring more material. What if is always more than we can possibly cover? So you're of course welcome to keep the book and discover it. What I do want to look at is a little bit into depth now. What do you do when you have played it once through, and you play it again? What do you musically do?
Improvise.
Correct. You create what was song. Well, if you do want to diverge and go into a different epoch, era, style, period, in the Renaissance Spanish music, it was called la diferencias, variations. So you want to create those diferencias. You want to play differently because why do you even bother to play it the second time the same way? You know, if you're not a machine, it just repeats the same thing over and over. So listen to me as if I'm bored after the first time or second time I'm playing it the next time. So you have to find balance. You can't just do whatever. It has to make musical sense. You have to stay within the framework of the same piece. It has to be kind of recognizable and danceable, and you have to create that, keep that skeleton of it. But nevertheless make it a little bit interesting. So. There are chords. It has kind of some harmonic logic behind it, so we can play all those chords and then do some turnarounds, some gruppettos around those notes. Right? On the second one. Well, one time I did a glissando, a slide up to the next octave. Why not? Like, show off a little bit, make it more interesting. Not just for the sake of showing off, but make it more interesting. So you can do that. Sure, and that's a little sparkle. You enliven this tune. All of a sudden, you reach into the next register, and it has this different harmonics. All right. So let's try with that. I'm not like singling out anybody unless you want to try individually. Let me know. No? Okay, so let's try it together, but you do your own version. However you can. Keep that in mind, okay? Yeah, now by this time I assume you know the melodies. Very simple. Right. 1, 2, 1. so that's the idea. And next time you feel really intimate with this tune, it's really you own it. It's your own. And you go further, and then you create your version. That's your very own version. And that's how actually folk music exists. Folk songs or instrumentals. That's the process of folklorization. Everybody's a creator, a co-creator of every piece. And then there's something that you get comfortable with. You make it your version, and then somebody learns it from you your way, and so on and so on. Very interesting. Okay, next piece. Let us look at the chosid. What's a chosid? Chosid is also a 2/4 dance, but as the name suggests, it was spread in the Hasidic communities, and Hasidic communities were very. We're talking old world, not talking. If we're talking Chabad Lubavitch, we're not talking Chabad Lubavitch Incorporated. We're talking old those in Chabad Lubavitch. Very the long boots, old stuff. So, but the essence is the same, of course. The essence is this dance with dignity. It's very stately. So, in other words, it cannot be too fast. In the first place, Jewish music cannot be too fast anyway. Nowadays, people tend to play everything faster than earlier. That's a general tendency. It's just a fact of life. But at any given point in history, because Jews used to play with Romanian musicians, Ukrainian musicians, and in the international bands. Can we not chatter, please, back there? I'm a little bit competing with your voices. The very interesting thing is, I knew one of such musicians, German Goldenstein. He emigrated. His daughter first emigrated from Transnistria, that small slither of land between Ukraine and Moldova. It was caught in this, basically the same tactics that Russia has used forever, and cut off that land and kind of make it a marionette puppet government and make it sort of whatever. So there was this civil war going there. So his daughter first emigrated to Brooklyn, and then she got her dad over. He played because he was an orphan. He survived World War II as a child, and then he was an orphan there, and then he played in the wedding bands, with international wedding band. International meaning not different countries, but different ethnic groups. Russians, Roma, Jewish, Ukrainians, basically playing for decades. Hundreds of thousands, even a few thousand pieces that he memorized, that he held in his head. That's the oral tradition. Then much later in life, German started to putting it down in writing. And so I met him shortly before he passed away in Poland, where Michael Alpert, one of my mentors, brought him from Brooklyn in Poland. I was still in Minsk. And so, yeah, he told us all these stories. What I'm saying is that eventually that band still exists in the south of Ukraine, in Mogilov-Podilsky. But there are no Jews there. What happened is the band started playing progressively faster. They got unleashed. There were no constraints as a slower playing Jews.
Yeah.
No Jews, faster tempo. And in general, it's not like progressive. It's in the parallel. That's how the Roma musicians used to play faster. Same repertoire, same tunes, faster. They're different culture. The strength of Jews is not playing fast. It's playing with the pitchovka, with the pintalayid. It's with a very idiomatic way. It's different idiomatics, but tempo is part of it. So that's chosid. Now. dance Jewish dance sitting. You
Can I
don't
ask
need to
another
stand.
question? If I'd remembered my ukulele, what kind of rhythm would a stringed instrument be playing? Not a violin, but, I mean, is
A
it
blocked instrument? Dum,
just-
chop, 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 chop.
just the chords? I
No,
mean,
but
No,
you
no,
could
no.
also go to the melody and then
No.
back to chords. So that includes ukulele, guitar, and cymbal.
Okay.
Cymbal.
And
right, the dulcimer.
I'm not good enough to play melodies, I would just.
No, but the
play
thing is that they
chords.
would, I'm telling you what's stylistically appropriate,
Okay,
is to go from melody to chords,
okay.
to chords to melody, to do a few bars of melody and go to chords.
Ah.
So,
Okay,
you know, bum, 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 so you cover a few bars of melody and then you go to chords.
do I get to keep the music?
Absolutely,
Okay.
everybody gets to
Practice at home.
Yes, of course. And again, if there, you need more copies, and there are also the B-flat instrument, E-flat instruments. If you have any friends, family who want to play, please. Otherwise, it will be recycled. Sure.
See, he's got it.
Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 1. Let me hear you play.
Are we on this next one?
I'm sorry?
Are we still on this?
We are on page 12,
Okay,
which is the cylinder 1872.02.
good.
Just to be extremely precise. Right? And this is from the same, fiddle band.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Okay. All kinds. 1, 2, 1, and then we'll play. 1, 2, 1. Okay, let's do it again. We'll learn it step by step, okay? Just the first part. Letter A. 1, 2. Okay, let's do it again. And also another stylistic thing, which at Margina, is that in Litvish music, the northern tradition, a lot of parts, unlike southern, are not repeated and are not square, are not 4 bars, or 8 bars. So like the Moldovan music, Romanian music, it very much falls into those squares. Northern music does not. So if you see this weird 3-bar phrases or unrepeated parts, that's okay. It's not necessarily a mistake, unless it is. There are typos. But most of the times, that's how it is. Musicians would, it has to do maybe with some mode of thinking in the Litvak liturgy, in the synagogue liturgy. People would just pray, daven faster, and go do their business. They would not spend their hours, singing the Gunim, and just pray, gedavet und gedanken zaubern. People had business to do. To sow those roots and to go to their whatever businesses. So anyway, so that's it. Nochamal, another, once again, letter A. 1, 2, 1. Keep playing. Okay, no, that's it. No repeat. You can repeat the last statement if you want. Again, when you're playing something like this, so letter C is obviously very contrast. So like the very dynamic first phrase and very gallant response, right?
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
What would be the context of this song? When would it be played or how?
At a wedding. It would
Oh,
be,
this is another wedding, okay.
It's at a wedding. Although it's a chassid, it's not necessarily a Hasidic wedding or a Hasidic Farbrengen. It's the image of a chassid.
Okay, okay.
It could be
So
an
that-
actual chassid who is dancing, but it's a wedding dance.
And a dance, okay.
Yeah, so it's very choreographic. It could be some mothers-in-law, little dancers, dancing with each other. So it has this, very dynamic part. That's right. Higher hands, lower hands. Right, that's exactly right.
Cool.
That's right choreography.
You have to bring the dancers next time.
You have to understand that language, actually, in order to play it correctly. What else? Violins. You can engage your double stops, not double stops, the open strings. Whatever string, engage them. That's the same style, same idea. Fill in the room. Let's write letter C. I want to hear you. Okay? Are you ready? Letter C. 1, 2, 1, play. That's going to be it for today. But it's okay. I'm not concerned at all. What do we have? We have a hospital, a karahod, a voloch. Oh my God. We have a whole bunch of other things going on. It's
Next
okay.
time.
Ready? 1, 2, 1. Try to bring those variations a little bit, right? All right, there's a lot of space for that. Ready? Let's from the top. So like literally same repertoire, except in Belarus and in the northern part, they would not play together, unlike the south. So, however, that said, repertoire traveled, it migrated. So they might not have played together in Prapoisk, right? In Mahilov Oblast, southeastern Belarus. But the repertoire might have stemmed from, say, it's actually local, it's very Litvish. But another piece, Volach. Volach, I know, it's from Wallachia, from Romania, Kingdom of Romania. So the Wolochs migrated and existed, as you look at the Woloch in the north, as a sort of image of how Woloch was played in the olden times in the southern region. So that was kind of almost fairy tale image of that, non-existent of some mythical Woloch. Yeah, so those could have been created by Roman musicians and Jewish musicians and Romanian shepherds, right? But they changed. It was like an image of the idea of them playing it in their own perception. Beautiful tune, by the way. I totally encourage you to play through this. And Karahot is a circle dance.
You know,
So
there's a wonderful group of musicians on the island that play gypsy jazz.
yeah, that's
And
very
I'm
different.
sure that's
Manouche.
grown out of
Yeah.
the Roma. And now it's not PC to call it gypsy
No,
jazz.
no, it's gypsy. It's absolutely gypsy jazz. That's the name of the genre.
But don't you suppose it's grown out of some of this as well?
No, it's a different region. Very different region.
Is
Different, different tradition.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's not go into that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. You're right.
Digress.
You're absolutely right to ask me any questions. But I'm saying that's not from that tradition, not
Okay.
that region. And by the way, what proves my words is that gypsy jazz manouche is played very fast.
Yeah.
I was once called to play. It was a bar gig. It was a low-stake gig. Luckily, I grew up on bass clarinet, and my fingers were smoking. Oh my God! Like, that's not part of my vocabulary, you know. I'm open to improvise and to listen. I was sweating on my toes reading those. It's really hard.
Are you able to play Dixieland?
Yeah, I played some of that. Yeah, and I played it.
It's too bad you're not here when they're playing because you would love this group.
I would love this. I would love to hear.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's Ranger and the Rear Rangers.
Ranger and the Rearranger is name.
Rearrangers.
Yeah.
You can find
That's a
them
smart
on
name.
YouTube. Look them
I
up.
can look them up. Yeah. Okay. Folks, any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's one genre of klezmer that I really love. It's I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to know more about this, but maybe it comes from the Levant, but it's the limping melody, da-dun, da-dun, like da-da-da-da.
Yeah. It comes much closer to that. No, it comes from Moldova. It's called hora. Hora. Specific types of hora. So it definitely, yes, with the limping, that's right. It's basically like. So my friend and the head of the Klezmer Institute, Christina Crowder, described it as regular irregularities. It's like imagine an egg. Egg is not. It's not. You know. It's not a circle. It's oval. It's ellipses. So boom, boom, boom. There's a certain same pattern of how it would turn over, right? But there's a pattern. It's the same. So regular irregularity. So with hora, or it's also called. Oh God, I'm not really a specialist in Moldovan music, but there are books written about that. So it's like imagine a five time over 3 time. And a lot of that, by the way, exists in Polish village music as well. In all the obedics, you have to kind of think in 5, really, not in 3. That's a Polish tradition. Look them up. There's a Bainbridge's collection of the violin, most of the violin music from the lost music, something the last Polish village musicians. There's a series of CDs, and Bainbridge was originally a biologist, a chemist biologist, but he also was I think he still is around, and an ethnomusicologist. And he actually there's a documentary, I think, on YouTube as well about that, of his really fascinating stuff, and including some Jewish repertoire, the image of the Jew in the barrel, very popular foxtrot, the Żydbewste, forget the political correctness, forget it, it doesn't exist. We recorded an album with my band called Boyfriend, exactly about it. It was very mutually politically incorrect. The image of the other in the eyes of the neighbor. Yeah, it's lovely stuff. Now, when it's z przymrużeniem oka, jak się mówi po polsku, with a wink of the eye. You know.
Yeah, there's one song that I guess it's fairly popular when bringing the Mechatonim
He
Yeah.
scored in the in-laws' home. Yeah, it's part of the last part of the wedding. The weddings were lasting for days, a week. So everybody was exhausted. They were dead. But it was a serious matter. God forbid you, as the father or mother of the bride and groom, would not send musicians to escort every guest personally to their home. It would be a mortal offense for years. They would not forget it. So no matter how exhausted, how geplatzt they would be, they had to walk every guest to honor them to their house at 5 o'clock in the morning on day 7.
Wow.
Yeah, it's no jokes. But that's the same, you're right. So much crossover repertoire, and in America as well, in New York, because above all, musicians had, there was shared repertoire. Yes, that's one side. The other side, that musicians had to make living, and there is a limited number of repertoire they could remember. So actually the first books, the very first klezmer book was by the violinist Wolf Kostakowski, published in Brooklyn in 1916. But the following series, based on his klezmer book, which by the way has marches, waltzes, tangos, freiluxes, everything that was in demand, would be the Kamen book. The Kamen books, they were highly in demand for all the transposing instruments as well. So there's amazing hints there. So this is the freilux, the Bulgar. If you want to play it Greek, add such and such pattern, and you'll become Greek. It's amazing. Actually, and you try it out. I totally encourage you to look up Kamen books. And these notes are present, they're invaluable. It kind of sounds like a joke, but it was not a joke. Musicians were making their living. And the famous saying of the Jewish musician, "Von ein Gott lebt man nicht." You can't make a living off one God. Speaking of Jewish musicians who can go to play masses, gigmas, Easter, the trumpet players, the Easter and Christmas, big time.
Somebody needs to do a PhD on all the influence of klezmer on Broadway. I mean, think about Gershwin and.
It's a questionable matter.
Don't you
it's
think? But
questionable
the
matter.
influence of that.
There was
background.
influence, there was shared vocabulary, but klezmer, it's a little, I would not, this would extend our conversation for another hour, honestly. To be
And
honest.
we didn't even talk about the Yiddish theater, right?
Yeah.
You're right.
So
it
to
ain't
be
necessarily
brief,
so-
I know you have to go, I need to breathe and drink, and to start this Yiddish song workshop soon.
Yeah.
But, there was a lot of shared territory, for sure. And people did communicate as they do communicate today. People did do different bands, different repertoires.
Yeah.
To make a living out of curiosity for various reasons. But there are lines, there are lines and there are lines.
Yeah.
Like klezmer, no. Gershwin did not do klezmer. Like Rhapsody in Blue is no klezmer, I'm
No.
sorry.
I
Or,
understand.
and he was his own thing. And Broadway is Broadway. Fiddler on the Roof is no klezmer.
No.
I played 600 performances of that. Trust me, I know every single
No,
one.
that's wonderful.
But when I had the bottle dance, we had our own internal jokes. When there's the bottle dance, the wedding dance scene, when there is this schmear. So there's a chromatic scale written out. That's alright. I did a schmear. I did a glissando.
Be careful.
So there's. But what I did was my friend Josh Johnson's not Jewish. He called it Rhapsody in Jew. Just for the giggles, and because our Fiddler on the Roof that we did was in Yiddish,
Yeah.
directed by Joel Gray and
Yeah.
MD'd by Zalman Moshe. I was associate conductor and clarinetist.
Oh.
So we got this artistic license to kind of klezmer it up.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's what we did, and of course, nobody could hear that anyway because the brass was drowning.
Yeah.
In that moment, there are some jarring moments there too. But I try to underscore because the very short piece when the policeman comes in and the wedding interrupts is which is a Keshen of Bulgar. It's a very lively and joyful piece, which I love to play. If you ever heard it, it's a hint, a few bars. But, so, Shalom Aleichem put the plot of the fictitious Anatevka in 1905, right? What happened in Kishinev in 1903? The terrible bloody pogrom, with a lot of Jews being actually killed, murdered. So that, I think that, the creators, Joe Stein, and
Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon, of course, who's the only creator who lived to see this Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof, and said, or whatever, it's your money, like, who needs Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish? Like, who it gets sold out? Short disclaimer, sold out, commercial state. But so they probably, Joe Stein, Jerry Bach, who composed the music, probably he was aware of that. So that would, to me, it was the most jarring reference. If you really meant it, that, like, I had chills, I had goosebumps every time I played it. Because if that was implying that pogrom that happened 2 years before, and that there's actually, it has a meaning because there's this policeman who comes in to start a pogrom on stage. So if anything, if they didn't know it was a bloody coincidence, but if they did mean it, they did mean it,
Yeah.
And that's the Keshenev Bulgar. The Keshenev Bulgar. So there are things, there is a text and there are meanings, and it's all about, that kind of stuff. So when you read it, when you really understand it, but Fiddler on the Roof is not klezmer, right? It's Broadway. It's Broadway as it existed in the 1960s. Period. It's American theater.
Well, what about like Yiddish theater? Some of the popular tunes, Yidel mitten Fiedel and Paparoisen.
Yeah.
That's considered klezmer.
No.
But
Klezmer is bad musician. Because the good musician is der Musikant. Der Musiker. Klezmer, so there was this famous interview that Hankus Natsky did with Epstein brothers when they're still around for the Milken archive. It's on YouTube, you can access it on YouTube. And there was a family, there was a dynasty of klezmorim who immigrated to the United States, and they had a successful career. They went on touring, they went to Austria, to Japan, etc. And they told me, if you called me klezmer, you would receive a patch in pun. What do you mean? I'm a career musician. I'm not a bad musician. That was how it was understood. But no. So yes, of course, you remember I talked about shared repertoire. You could use this. It was a double sword. You could use it as a nigun, as a folk song, as an instrumental tune, same tune, right? So yeah, it was repurposed. We're talking about the same Eastern European vocabulary, Jewish musical vocabulary. It was adapted and then taken further with the influence of some American Philip Sousa band, New Orleans jazz, and such, yada yada yada.
Well, a good tune is a good tune.
Well, good. We're not being judgmental. We're trying to understand what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So you're saying that say the Yiddish theater tunes,
They incorporated a lot of that vocabulary.
They're refined.
They used it, and they were one of the applications. So who played in the pits of Yiddish theater? The same musicians who played the other night, no show night, they would play a wedding. They were klezmers, but they were very highly skilled musicians who would do big bands, weddings, Yiddish theater, Broadway. Then they moved into Hollywood studios, and they were very highly skilled. And even some would do, like Philadelphia Orchestra or Boston Symphony. on the side.
In
They were
the-
very highly, some of them.
In the United States, we have jobbing musicians, right? And that would correspond with klezmer musicians.
Yeah.
They play the weddings, the bar mitzvahs.
But everybody was different.
And then some of them, of course, played in the lyric opera's pit orchestra or the
That's right.
Chicago Symphony Orchestra.
So the question was, right, the question was not only about their actual skill set, which is of course at the core, their musical ability, but also because think of them as an immigrants. Like, I came here as an immigrant at 30. It was my decision. I could have come here at 18 and have gotten American education, meaning built my network. And that was my big sacrifice, and I did not. I stayed in Belarus for a purpose, to do my field work, to do archival work, which was all available to me very easily and for free, basically, right? And I'm not regretting, but I am regretting, of course. So a lot of them came as immigrants without that network, so they did not work. So what I'm noticing, I'm not getting some gigs that other people are getting, because you have to know the contractors. How do you know the contractors? You go to school together, or you talk your way into the substitution in that pit or that pit or whatever, and sometimes it's really tricky, so it's about connections, and it's really hard for immigrants, no matter how qualified, how highly skilled they are. Not all of them were highly skilled, whatever, some were really jobby musicians, but some were really highly skilled, and they were subbing in Boston Symphony, Philadelphia Orchestra, Cleveland Orchestra, so they was that skilled, but they would not be admitted for the chair, for the full-time position. That was hard. It was not fair, but that's life. Their children would probably. I hope my daughter would take that place, someday. And I just keep myself in the best shape, so I'm not ashamed of, not embarrassed of what I'm doing.
Never.
There's only one standard.
Never.
No. I'm saying there's only one standard. There's no Kol Shalom standard. Listen, there's no Kol Shalom standard and Carnegie Hall standard. There's only one standard, musician standard. You can only perform at that one standard. It's the same anywhere, any house.
So this man needs to
He
breathe.
needs a break.
But I'm happy to talk. I'm happy. Questions, complaints,
Question.
complaints.
None.
How old is the sherla as a rhythm, and where does it come from?
Shel means scissors, so it's square dance. It's square. It's very complex dance that dates back to the 15th century Germany. So it has to be learned choreographically and musically. It has many sections. Sherale, it's like a little sher, diminutive. Not little, not shorter, but like endearment is a form of endearment. It does not exist in English. Sherale. That's it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, perfect.
So it's basically square dance, except in Jewish version, men could not dance with women who are not their spouses.
It's a very popular rhythm.
So many sections go into each other doing that, and at the end you would do thread and needle. The final part of the show, thread and needle.
I always thought the sherla went like that.
No, that's Bulgar. That's American Bulgar.
Is that what it's called?
American Bulgar, yeah. 3-3-2. Also, never in the bass line, by the way. Never in the. That's the common mistake, also done by Jerry Bach and Fiddler on the Roof. Bass never plays up. Never. Bass does 4/4, steady fourths. It's the right hand that does it. This is like circus. I apologize before any circus artists. Yeah, I love circus.
Yeah.
But this is a.
Thank you so
Thank you so much. And again, come to the concert and get the books, the 42s there. Be the second volume coming out later.